Okay then. So we're back with these thoughts on videos of the Doctor Who episodes. So here we go, Doctor Who Series 13, kicking off with the Halloween Apocalypse, or Flux Chapter 1, the Halloween Apocalypse. So it seems like they're going for a bit of a sort of a serialised, classic style, overarching story for this last series of the Jodie Chibnall era, which I quite like actually. It's basically like a big extended length 6-part classic story in a way, but on like a massive scale budget. As a series opener, this was they really jam-packed it full of stuff, didn't they? A lot of it is set up for the rest of the episodes, obviously, but I mean, it worked, they got my attention, and I'm interested to see where this is going. So, a few quick things. Right off the bat, really like the opening scene, that was really cool. You can tell they put a lot of effort into that. Yeah, just a very fun, exhilarating opening scene to get things going, quite like it. And the Doctor and Yaz, I think, are really good at the moment. They're in terms of their characters, I really enjoyed them in this episode. And the new character, Dan, he was pretty fun too, I quite liked him. His accent was very thick at times though, and I did actually kind of struggle to understand a few of his lines, but yeah. But yeah, overall, I really like the 3 main characters of this episode. Well, we also got introduced to the character Vinda, who's meant to be a recurring character. We don't really know anything about him in this episode, and he's been off doing his own thing so far the entire time. So it would be interesting once he starts meeting up with the Doctor and the companions. It'd be interesting to see what his role is in this story. Definitely looking forward to seeing where they go with that character as well. The Carvanista creature, the big dog man, not what I was expecting, I gotta say. When I saw it in the trailer and the way they were sort of talking about him in the marketing, I was expecting him to be like a big, like proper villain. And I mean, he's shown like in a villainous way to begin with, but then of course we find out that him and the rest of his species have been like assigned to rescue the human race from the big threat that we'll talk about in a bit. That was a neat little plot twist though, I quite like it. I do like where they went with him, even if it wasn't what I was expecting. It's always nice to have your expectations subverted as long as it's done in the correct way. So to begin with, he kind of reminded me of the Garm from the Peter Davison story Terminus. Here's a picture if you want to see. A picture of the Carvanista to compare. You can probably see why I drew that comparison, can't you? But yeah, I was honestly expecting him to have like a big booming kind of voice, but then he comes in with I can't quite remember what his voice sounded like, but it was kind of funny. Not what I was expecting, yet again, I gotta say. He ended up being quite a likeable ally in the end. Sort of, started out as a villain, sort of becomes like an uneasy ally, and then becomes basically a good guy by the end of the episode, which I quite like. He was just a really fun character. But yeah, anyway, Carvanista was a very interesting addition to this episode, and the whole deal with him and his species being humanity's saviours, that was interesting. I like that. The Doctor's still searching for the division, so I like that they haven't dropped the Timeless Child arc, even though it's widely disliked. Me personally, I don't mind it. I don't really see why people have such of a problem with it. Yes, it does fuck around with the lore a bit, but like I said back in my video where I talked about Timeless Children back when it came out, fucking ages ago now that must have been, jeez. Yeah, I talked about it then, and I honestly didn't mind it. I mean, when you think about it, it doesn't really have that much of an effect on the Doctor's character and the lore of the show in general. Like, it's something that feels like it's changed the whole game, but in reality it's not actually changed all that much when you think about it. So yeah, I don't mind the Timeless Child arc that much, and I'm glad they're following up on it. I think it would be worse if they just decided to drop it after the backlash and not see it through to completion. That would probably be worse, because then they'd just be admitting that it was a failure. I prefer if Chibnall at least went through and finished his story arc completely, and then, because of the magic of Doctor Who, if in the future some future showrunner decides that they want to overwrite it and just sort of retcon it in some way, or just try and fix it the best they can, then they can do that. But I'd rather they go through and finish the storyline, get their complete arc done, rather than just dropping halfway through because of toxic fan backlash. Yeah, anyway, regardless of that, yeah, the Division was one of the big mysteries at the end of Series 12, this sort of secret organisation from like really old Gallifrey. By the end of Series 12, the Division was one of the things I was like the most intrigued about, because we got drip-fed so little information about it, sort of interwoven with the rest of the Timeless Child Child arc at the time. It really left me hungry to find out more about it, you know, and it seems like we hopefully will, which is good. So yeah, I'm quite happy that we're following up with the Doctor searching for information about the Division, which is obviously what leads her to Carvanista, but yeah, I'm happy with that. On a similar note, on to, I think we'll talk about the Swarm character next. So we're shown in the scene that there's these obviously Gallifreyan ladies with the guns. I think obviously if you remember back to Fugitive of the Jadoon, you'll remember that Gat, who was Gallifreyan, had a gun exactly like that, and also Joe Martin's Fugitive Doctor as well. So yeah, those two, the two female guards that were that got killed sort of near the beginning by that prisoner who's called the Swarm, they were obviously Gallifreyan and probably working for the Division as well. So yeah, like my previous point, it's nice that they are following up on this plotline, and I'm really intrigued to see where it goes. But yeah, that brings me on to some interesting theories about Swarm. So yeah, we learn that Swarm, that weird crystal-y guy, seems to be some kind of ancient being, apparently. He's been imprisoned basically since the universe began, and he has like a sister of some kind. We didn't really learn much about her, to be honest. That kind of got rushed through, didn't it? Her sister was like in disguise in the Arctic with this other dude, and yeah, I'm not really sure what that was all about, but hopefully they'll explain that a bit more as we go along. But yeah, focusing more on the male crystal dude who's called Swarm. Yeah, got a few theories about him, given the information that we've been given. So he's apparently been imprisoned since the universe began, imprisoned supposedly by the Gallifreyans, or more specifically this Time Lord Division organisation, which we're going to need to know more about before we can really do proper speculation on that. So yeah, he's been in prison for a while, obviously. That'll probably make him quite mad. Yeah. He also knows the Doctor of old, apparently, so they're ancient enemies, apparently, but the Doctor has no idea who this guy is. So yeah, that kind of brings me on to a few theories about him, though. Given those two bits of information, I'm wondering, perhaps, could Swarm be a great old one from the pre-universe? If he's been imprisoned by the Gallifreyans since like the beginning of the universe, perhaps he's from the previous one. That's one theory. Another theory could be, perhaps, given how he knows the Doctor, and given by his dialogue it sounds like he's known the Doctor for ages now, I'm wondering if, and this ties into the Timeless Child arc, I'm wondering if Swarm is some kind of big baddie from whatever other dimension the Timeless Child originally came from, and that's how he knows the Doctor, because he faced her back when she was the Timeless Child before she became the Doctor. I'm wondering if that's where they're going with this. If so, that could be interesting. I wonder if we'll get more information about exactly where Swarm and the Timeless Child comes from originally, if that's the case, if they are both from the same place, that is. To me, anyway, with the information we've been given, that actually seems like the most plausible theory that I can come up with at the moment, but so far everything in this episode has just been very intriguing. The Flux, this big space cloud that seems to be just annihilating all of existence, basically. That's really interesting. Actually, like proper big threat as well, which is nice. It's kind of implied through the use of similar special effects between Swarm and the Flux. It's kind of implied that Swarm is causing the Flux, I'm assuming. Although I don't think they actually like outright state that. I think they left it a bit ambiguous. So I'm wondering if it would seem there's a connection between Swarm and Flux. It seems Swarm and his sister character, whoever she is, are going to be like the big villains of this series, but I could be wrong on that. I don't know. It really could go anywhere, to be honest. With the information that we've been given, it's really too early to speculate. Yeah, I don't think there's really much more that I can say about sort of the wider story arc elements, or at least the elements that appear to be part of the wider story arc at this time. But yeah, really enjoying that element so far, and then the things that have been set up as well. Like, we got the Weeping Angel that was after the Claire woman. That was kind of creepy. It seems like that's obviously going to be a plot point in one of the future episodes. Be interesting to see where that goes. So there's obviously something going on there that we've glimpsed that's going to become a major problem. Great to see the Weeping Angels coming back, and it seems like, I mean, if that scene where it's chasing her that she's trying to get into her house is anything to go by, then I think we'll be in for a real good treat when the Weeping Angel episode comes along. The TARDIS having these dimensional problems is kind of interesting. So now we've got like a door there, and a door coming out the floor. That's really interesting. So something's definitely going on with the TARDIS, and of course it's leaking that black goo stuff as well. So something's going on with the TARDIS, obviously. So be interesting to see where that goes. Hopefully it doesn't like explode and cause the end of the universe again like it did back in Series 5. if they are sort of leading up to the TARDIS being destroyed somehow, then I think that would be a good way of like getting rid of this TARDIS, ready for the new Doctor when Russell takes over. They could like have this series or the Centenary special or something, maybe end with the TARDIS like breaking up when the regeneration happens or whatever. And yeah, this could be like a good excuse to like get the new TARDIS design in for when Russell takes over, so that could be sort of thinking ahead a bit. But yeah, in terms of plot, it could also be very intriguing. We could possibly end up with a couple episodes without a TARDIS. Something's definitely going on with the TARDIS though that shouldn't be happening. It seems like that's going to be carried over across these episodes. But and the Sontarans. These Sontarans are amazing. I know there are only like 2 scenes, and it's obviously to set up episode 2. Yeah, from what we've seen of those Sontarans at the moment, I love them. I mean, just look at them. These are now my new favourite Sontaran designs, period. I gotta say, just right off the bat, I can say that immediately. I love this Sontaran design. It's just the whole design as well, and the mannerisms of them as well, like the way they speak. It's like a really faithful recreation of the classic Who Sontarans. It's literally the classic Sontarans on like a big budget, which is brilliant because yeah, I really hope when Russell takes over, if he decides to do another Sontaran episode like somewhere down the line, that he keeps this design, because it is definitely the best design the Sontarans have ever had, I think. Also, Swarm's sister character trapping that one-armed woman who was talking to Dan at the beginning of the episode. I can't remember what her name is or what her relation to Dan is, I'm sorry, but yeah, she sort of trapped that woman in that haunted house type thing randomly, so that's obviously setting up another episode of some kind. But yeah, oh yeah, before I forget, that one scene in the beginning in 1820 Liverpool, what are they building or excavating or whatever it was they were doing? That was shown in the montage at the end, so that's obviously going to be a major point in a future episode. So yeah, but yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much everything I've got on my notes here. The pacing was really good in this episode as well, and I really don't have that much of a like nitpicks with it either. Loved pretty much everything about this episode. It was brilliant. If the rest of the series is as good as this, then this, well, they'll be ending the Whittaker Chibnall era off on quite a high note, I think. The only real criticism I have of this episode is the mixing. The audio mixing was kind of naff in places. I actually struggled to hear some characters talking over the volume of the music and some of the sound effects. And yeah, overall, apart from that one nitpick and probably a few other minor things that I don't really care about, overall this is a bloody really solid episode. If I had to rate it, it would be at least an 8. Let's just hope they can keep up this momentum for the rest of the series, and I think we're in for a wild ride with this series, guys. Gotta say. So yeah, join me roughly the same time next week where I'll be discussing episode 2, War of the Sontarans. And until then, leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video, hopefully. And yeah, bye!